Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Eddie. Throughout the year, we're going to be having some interviews with some past clients of mine so that we can discuss what the process was like for them. You know, moving is one of those things that is not done very often, and it's somewhat of a daunting task. So this is going to be able to give you kind of a behind the scenes look of what happened through those processes, how we got through some of those challenges, and how we ultimately were able to find them the perfect home for their family. So Lee, once you guys decided that you wanted to finally move and you made a decision, you know, we're going to do this, what was your situation like? What did you guys have to do to make your move?
So to make our move, we wanted to stay in Sylvania, whether it was the city of or township. Mm-hmm. And to make that move, we contacted you. Mm-hmm. That was our first step. You know, you know the game. You're an established realtor in the area, and it was a no-brainer for us to call you. And then had you come through our current home that we were living in and say, well, to get this one ready to sell, maybe you ought to do this, this, and this. You know, you gave us a small checklist to go off of. And then you also sat down with us and asked us, what are we looking for in a house? Size, location, you name it, everything that goes with, to establish that foundation to go off of to start looking for a house.
So we had to customize a program for what your situation was.
Absolutely. And you were spot on looking for us, just knowing that our area was what it was, you know, the geographic area. You did show us some other houses outside of it just to show what we could get for the same amount of money that we were looking to spend, which was very informational and impactful in our decision-making process.
It was good homework.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and hats off to some of the online capabilities, you know, Realtor and Zillow and things like that, being able to view 50 pictures for a house, you know, at the swipe of a finger, you know, and bring it to your attention. Hey, get us in there. We want to see it.
So your situation was a little bit unique also, in fact, that you guys had a very particular home that you were looking for. So not something that was just sitting on the market because inventory had reduced significantly. So things were starting to get competitive. So what was that process like?
So absolutely, wouldn't you know it? Just as we were getting into the house buying or the house hunting search, it did pick up. The amount of houses on the market weren't there. Prices started going up, you know, and that's right when we were getting into it.
A lot of extraordinary conditions were starting to develop, like, you know, no appraisals. Some people weren't doing inspections.
Absolutely, and we fell right into that. Actually, the home we bought, we waived the inspection. We said we'd go without. But with that, you know, it was pretty tough. There were some bumps and bruises along the way of getting to where we're at today.
Yeah, so when we decided to make that decision, it wasn't an easy decision to make, but we were in a very competitive situation and we happened to find the perfect house, and it was relatively new.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Looked at probably, I would say, physically went and looked at over 25, probably close to 40 houses, I bet, physically, opening up the door, walking through. And that's aside from looking at the pictures. So going through all them houses, seeing what was out there for the same, you know, the price points that we were looking at, and to find this house where we're at today was a deal in our mind.
And when you talk about changes, so some of the terms that started to evolve out of being a low inventory market got to a point where also the prices started going up considerably. So you guys had to make some pivoting changes, right? You had to pivot a little bit to be able to find the home that you wanted, because all of a sudden you started to realize what we thought our budget was going to be is now changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had to go back to the lender and the time frame of it all. It wasn't a quick process for us, you know, and as it was limited by our own.
Everybody's got a budget.
Yeah, and we had to go back to the lender a couple times, get pre-approved on the process. So by doing that, though, it really allowed us to, you know, stay within our means. But the other thing that you got to look at was the interest rate.
Yeah.
Interest rate was going up and down, and mostly down at the time frame. To make it very appealing to get a little bit more of a house for about the same cost because of the interest rate.
Yeah, so think about what financing would be like today on the purchase of this home when interest rates are near 7%.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day.
Yeah. So that process, as we said, took a little bit of time because we had, even though you were looking for a very specific thing, You guys were in a fortunate position where you could buy before you sold, so that was actually a huge benefit because now you had some flexibility. But we also took our time trying to find this home. So it wasn't just over a couple of months. It was over a course of a year or two because we wanted to be very strategic at what you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and before we pulled the trigger to make the phone call to you about looking for a house, we were making savings and making those steps already to be able to put us in that position where we didn't have to sell to go buy.
Yeah.
And in that process, you know, it helped us out to be selective and take our time and do our homework and find the right house that we were looking for.
And it really put you guys in the catbird seat, so to speak, because you could afford to be more picky.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the road we took, you know, and it worked out really well for us.